Hammerin' Harry was originally an arcade game developed by IREM that was released in 1990 and ported to the NES only in PAL regions a year later. In Japan, Hammerin' Harry is known there as Daiku no Gensan, and you may be surprised to learn there is a mini-franchise of these games. I didn't realize that until doing the research for this video. The Japanese title roughly translates to Gen the Carpenter, Gen being the main character's name. In English, Hammerin' Harry rolls off the tongue a little better. There are 8 entries in the Hammerin' Harry series. There's the arcade original, 2 Famicom titles, neither of which came to North America, although one was popular in Europe, as well as 2 Game Boy games, a Game Boy Color game, a Super Famicom game, and even a PSP game. So today, we'll be taking a look at the one NES enthusiasts may recognize as Hammerin' Harry that was popular in PAL regions, as well as a sequel that never left Japan. So, let's see what's up. Maybe you've seen this horrifying box art before, which looks like Sylvester Stallone's and Charlie Sheen's Miracle Son sporting a massive bulge and beating you to death with a hammer. But that's just Harry. Harry is a carpenter armed with a wooden mallet. What's he gonna do? Run around and build sheds or repair some old furniture? Oh no, God, he's killing everybody in the street. Don't worry, it's justified. As the story goes, Harry is at odds with the Rusty Nailers Company, who have been taking over the city, causing folks to foreclose their homes and give up their land. One day when Harry left home, the Nailers came by and power-walked his house into submission. A real shame. Thankfully, Harry doesn't leave home without his extremely flammable wooden mallet, so at least that survived because he needs it to pound a bunch of rusty nailers into the ground. As the game says very terrifyingly at the beginning of each stage. Okay. As Harry walks around, he can swing his mallet to knock out all kinds of local no-gooders, and must do it all within the time limit shown at the bottom of the screen. The time limit never really gave me guff, but it's always there to add a little stress. As Harry moves along, whacking dude after dude, he'll earn power-ups that affect his attack, like one that makes his swing go all the way around, or a helmet for a little bit of OSHA protection. You can acquire more health as well, special boots, and even a bigger hammer. You start with 3 lives and can earn more along the way, and there are infinite continues, always a bonus. The bad news is, to get the true ending, you have to play through the game twice. Yeah, it's one of those, so buckle up. Each stage ends in a boss fight, and they're all a little unique, something I always appreciate in a game. Like this guy at the construction site throws his lunch at you, which really shouldn't hurt Harry unless he has cold cut allergies, but, you know, Harry doesn't risk it and whacks the sandwiches back at the foreman. In this boss level, you just beat the crap out of a car under a time limit. Take that car! Yeah! After each stage, you see a cutscene of a young woman walking by herself down a road at night. Then, one of those rusty nailer guys sneaks up behind and abducts her. That's a big no bueno and pretty creepy. You save her during the bonus rounds that immediately follow the cutscenes. You'll see she's tied up and dangling by a rope. Yikes. Now, if you're like me, you swatted her a few times with the mallet thinking that's how you set her free, but it's not. And you know, that's on me. I should have known whacking someone helplessly bound by a rope with a hammer was only going to make me an accessory to the crime and not really solve anyone's predicament, so what you should do is kill as many of the baddies that jump out from all the different doors and areas in the allotted time. Afterward, she just frees herself and hops down. Probably very confused about why you came at her first like you did, but you didn't know. So what I've shown you is the repeat cycle for Hammerin' Harry. There's a platforming stage, a boss, a cutscene, a bonus level, and repeat. As you can see, the game looks pretty good. Harry's sprite is nice and detailed. He has a lot of personality. The environs are colorful, varied, and detailed as well. A few of the bosses are fun and not too tough, all that good stuff. The bummer is that Harry doesn't control so well. Once you jump, your control of Harry becomes limited. Really, at any point he's in the air, he's hard to control. Like in this section here, where in most games, to get to the crate below, your inclination would be to lightly slip off the edge and then hold in left to move back over to land on the box. You can't do that here. If you go off the edge, there's no moving Harry back left. He just keeps going the direction you moved him and becomes spiked meat. What you have to do is get to the edge, jump, and then move him back left. At least, this is the best way I found to get him around the pickier parts of levels. It can be unnecessarily awkward to get around, and the controls land you in some pickles you'd otherwise avoid in most games. Timing your attacks with Harry is also crucial. There's a wind-up to his swing, and the hitboxes are sometimes picky. Like on this boat, I found it tough to constantly defend myself without falling off the sides and into the water. And remember, the jump is hard to control, so you're almost safer not jumping in any direction. Jumping straight up works if you can time the hits right. It takes some getting used to, but practice helps. All in all, Hammerin' Harry is a decent game if you've already played through most of the NES library and are looking for something from back in the day that's above average. It's not the best thing out there, but it might be among the better games on the console you never played or maybe even knew existed. The second game doesn't have quite the cover art the first game has, but the game itself is similar in a lot of ways. Harry, or Gen in this case, looks as he did before, and he's still wielding that oversized mole masher. The screen layout and power-ups remain the same here as well for the most part. All cutscene text is in Japanese, but the game is playable without reading anything so long as you don't care about the story. And given the intense narrative of the first one, I doubt we're missing much here, although I admit I'm a little curious, because the bad guy looks a lot like Dr. Wily meets Magneto, and since the first game was focused on a dastardly real estate tycoon, what could possibly be going on here? The recipe remains the same. There are side-scrolling and vertical platforming levels, and I have to say that I think the main character controls much better here. The jump feels more under control and precise. The graphics have undergone some polish, but they're above average in both games, so the difference is kinda negligible. The stages in the sequel are a little shorter, I think, but I did find this one to be a little tougher out the gate. There's still a rhythm you need to get into with the hammer. You kinda need to anticipate your swings with where enemies will be. There are 8 total stages, and as far as I know, you don't have to play through them twice for the official victory. The bosses here are once again interesting and highly variable. Just within the first few levels, you fight a guy riding a mechanical elephant, a guy riding a mechanical seahorse, a guy riding a mechanical machine, and each one requires a different method of attack to defeat. Like here, you have to golf the wrecking ball at just the right angle to hit the operator and do damage. The hardest thing about it is getting it done in the time limit, as aiming the dang wrecking ball is tough, but I do have to appreciate the unique battle here. The game has infinite continues as well, and even if you die at a boss and use a continue, you're put right back at the boss. No need to repeat the level over. Kinda makes me wonder why there are continues in the first place. Bonus stages return, where you have to whack-a-mole a bunch of bad dudes under a time limit. This happens a few different ways, and success leads to a power-up you can use in the next stage, so it's worth paying attention to. Once again, I whacked the person I wasn't supposed to right out of the gate. They really needed a better warning for that. Sorry, ma'am. If you're looking for more Famicom games to play that are fun and don't have a language barrier, I gotta recommend this one. It released in late 1993, which is pretty late for the system, and because of that, it has a decent quality all the way around. There are plenty of frustrations here too, but mostly attributed to difficulty by design and not a lack thereof. Like I said in the intro, if you're a big Hammerin' Harry fanatic, there are a few sequels you can check out, but most are in Japanese. Hammerin' Hero on the PSP released in North America, but fetches a pretty penny these days. Well, that's going to do it for today. As always, be careful where you go swinging your hammer around, and thanks for watching.